The Prime Minister is in Windsor, Ontario this afternoon. Justin Trudeau toured the Stellantis steel plant and met with workers there. Afterwards, he spoke with reporters. He was asked, with the one-year anniversary of the truckers' convoy approaching, if he had any reflections. Trudeau took the opportunity to contrast his approach with Conservative Leader Pierre Poilievre.
That's a better question to ask Mr. Poilievre. He seems a lot closer to the convoy. My approach is very much on making sure that we're delivering good jobs and good opportunities for Canadians. We know that people are worried and even frustrated about how the world is unfolding around them. And as a politician, you have two choices. You can either try and amplify those fears, make people even madder, reflect that anger and that uncertainty that people are legitimately feeling because the world is changing in unpredictable ways, reflect that back at them without offering real solutions. Or you can choose to buckle down and deliver on the kinds of things that are going to make people feel confident in their own future.
The CBC's Karina Roman was listening in from her post in Ottawa, and she joins us now live. So, Karina, what did you make of Justin Trudeau's pointed remarks about Pierre Poilievre?
Kind of fit into the whole feeling of this event. It felt very campaign-like. I mean, we're nowhere near an election from the sounds of it, but, you know, it was very pointed, barbed comments there, you know, making the point that Pierre Poilievre is very close to some of the convoy protesters, of course, you know, that he feels, you know, are probably not the kind of people you want to be close to if we're talking about the kind of truck horn blasting and other things that went on during that time. That said, you know, he was there and not making an announcement, which is why I say it was kind of like a campaign. He was there just to tour. He has been to this plant before to make an announcement, billions of dollars, in fact, to upgrade, to start making electric vehicles. And, you know, today he had lots of accolades for the unions. But when it came to these comments about the convoy, clearly wanting to contrast himself with Pierre Poilievre, you know, talking about how he understands the legitimate anger and concerns that people had then and perhaps still have now, especially in terms of the cost of living and that kind of thing, but that there's different ways of dealing with it. And you heard him there saying, you know, he accusing Pierre Poilievre basically of amplifying those fears, of feeding that anger as opposed to coming up with solutions. He also used the opportunity, you didn't hear it there, to once again make the dig against Pierre Poilievre about the cryptocurrency advice that at one time he gave Pierre Poilievre, saying, you know, to opt out of inflation, you could invest in cryptocurrency. And of course, the Liberals have made lots of hay with that comment, constantly bringing it up as an example of bad financial advice. He also used this opportunity to highlight, I suppose you mean sort of the statesman-like position that he holds as Prime Minister. He made many references to the Leaders Summit last week in Mexico City and his meetings with the Mexican president and with U.S. President Joe Biden, you know, really seeming to want to amplify the idea that, you know, he is the Prime Minister making these very important trips, making very important decisions and meeting with very important people.
And let's talking about important decisions and important people, the premiers. And what did he have to say about progress on a healthcare deal with the provinces? Because that's been hinted at for the last couple of days.
Yes, it has. And yesterday he made that very strong hint, saying he hopes to have something to announce soon. And then we heard from my colleague David Cochrane getting a feel from premiers that something, you know, could be imminent in February. The question today was, well, you've been saying all this, there's been strong hints, but then the health minister saying, oh, there's still a lot of work to be done. And so where does the truth lie was the nature of the question for the Prime Minister. And he said, you know, neither of that is contradictory, that, you know, there is still a lot of work to be done. A lot of work has been done. He talked about the shared concerns that both the federal government and the premiers have, you know, that we need more family doctors, that there's these surgical backlogs, we need to do more and better elder care, that there's specific challenges post-pandemic. And he did basically confirm that there will be more money on the table from the federal government, that is a given. But what has also become a given is that the provinces are going to probably agree to some kind of accountability measure, you know, for these quote unquote shared priorities. And what he said at the end was quite interesting, because he said, because the premiers are hearing what we've been hearing as well from Canadians, which is that, Canadians really want a reliable and accessible healthcare system. And what he's hinting at there is, you can't keep quibbling about who's at fault and it's their fault we don't have enough money and they're not doing enough when people are, dying in emergency rooms, for example. So eventually the political pressure from the people, from Canadians, is enough to make everyone start to agree and come to some kind of consensus.
Karina, thank you. The CBC's Karina Roman, live in Ottawa.